If you're anything like my clients, you've probably heard of values and you get the general concept behind them, but you don't really know what your top values are or why it even matters that much. After today's episode, you'll better understand what your core values are, or your top values, and understand exactly why they matter. You'll better understand how knowing them will help you live a more fulfilled, congruent life. As you gain clarity, you'll find that you can let go of the need to apologize for your values and start protecting them, which will fill you with confidence and purpose. Hello, I'm Kendra Nielsen. Welcome to Fulfillment Therapy, where you will improve your relationship with yourself, your loved ones, and with God. You'll find healing, wellness, crucial mindset shifts, and self-development help. I'm a licensed therapist, personal trainer, and coach. In this podcast, you'll learn the skills and confidence needed to transform your life from merely surviving to living a fulfilling, flourishing life. You can't reach your God-given potential and become who you were meant to become by remaining where you are. If you're ready, we'll create an ignited life you can't wait to wake up to. And yes, it's possible. It's your time to shine, my friend. Welcome to episode 21, Values. Discover your core values and learn how to unapologetically stand up for them. Maybe some of you are aware of your values because you've done some sort of self-development exercise, maybe at a retreat or for business. But like I said in the opening, if you're anything like my clients, the chances are high that you probably don't really know what your values are. Well, your core values are your highest priorities or your deeply held beliefs and are at the heart of what you stand for. And now this is not just religious convictions, but it's what lights a fire in you and what you stand behind with earnestness or that fervor. And if you're like I was, or like many of my clients, you're probably thinking like, I don't really feel that strongly about anything. Well, that is a pretty typical response. And when I give them a list of values, then they start to realize, oh yeah, there really are things that I can stand behind with that confidence and purpose and that fervor and that earnestness. In some of my retreats and other trainings that I do with my clients, I created a worksheet around this, and last episode I put one up on my website for you guys to use, but I wanted to do another one today as another free gift and resource for you. But I just want to quickly describe what this looks like so you can keep this in mind as I'm talking about these things today. So for the first part of it, all I ask you to do, I have this big list of values, and I just want you to circle your top 10 values. I probably have a list of about 50 or something on this worksheet. And then I want you to really focus on your top 3 by highlighting your top 3 values. And then the second worksheet I have is identifying what your core values are. So again, these are your highest priority values, and they matter more to you than anything else in your life, and they give you purpose. At that point, I want you to dig deeper to see if your top 3 values are really your core values. You go deeper by asking yourself these questions. Why do you value this? And then keep taking it a level further and a level further. And this does take some reflection. For example, I'll just go really with the first step. So a few of the things that I value are personal fulfillment, making a difference, autonomy, fun. And so I took that, let's just start with fun, because it seems kind of frivolous, but why do you value this? Well, I value that because I had close loved ones die that didn't get to live a full life. And I want to live a full life full of great memories so that I can leave those with my children. And I want to enjoy the short life that we have with them. And then I can take that a step further and just make sure that there's nothing else beneath that. And if you can't answer that question any further, like, why do I value this? Then you've arrived at your core value. So just explore those. Like I do have a lot of clients that will write something they feel they should put down. For example, they might write that spirituality or religion or any of those things is a core value. So maybe we could say faith is a core value. But they are not living a very faith-led life. And that was just something maybe they grew up with. They don't really have many convictions around it. So they are not really acting in congruence with that, or else it may not really be a core value for them. So just explore that as you're writing these things down. So after the core values one, I have a few journal prompts and journal pages that go along with it with some quotes that I'll share here also. Just a reminder that you can find this on fulfillment.therapist.org under the tab free, and you can download any of those for your personal use. These are very much just offered to you as a way to find further growth beyond just listening to this podcast. So I hope you will enjoy that. I hope it will be helpful for you. Now, going back to what I was talking about earlier with my clients, I found that most of my clients, I mentioned that a lot of them don't know what their top values are. And most people don't seem to think much about values, which can yield some terrible consequences culturally and worldwide. And I know that sounds kind of doomsday, but I really believe that that's true. After better understanding their values, my clients will often say something like they felt like they had to remain neutral about their values and beliefs so that they wouldn't offend somebody. But after some understanding and some psychoeducation on this, they recognize that that's not the case, and all that does is prevent you from living authentically. And I think most of us can probably relate to that. If you're like me and have a family filled with very different political and spiritual beliefs, those differences can seem to further division and the belief that we won't be accepted for who we are. So why even share it? Even though I know that's not true, it's still hard for me to feel otherwise sometimes. We're all struggling with that in different areas of our life, and you are not alone in that, I promise you. Audre Lorde said, "It's not our differences that divide us. It is our inability to recognize, accept, and celebrate those differences." And I would add that it's our inability to celebrate those differing values that causes further division. We don't need to believe what others believe to validate their feelings and celebrate their uniqueness. I know that might be somewhat of a foreign concept, but the more that I learn, the more I believe this is true. So I have this aunt, however you want to say it, who is incredible at celebrating differences. No matter what, you always leave thinking that she's your number one cheerleader, and you feel that she believes the same things with the same conviction as you. And it wasn't until later in life that I realized that her beliefs are often very different than mine, but she's just mastered the art of celebrating differences instead of being threatened by them. And I love that about her. I have so many clients that have confided in me about the intolerable left or right wing people, or maybe it's the stay-at-home moms, or the working moms, or the religious, or the non-religious. And they just assume that I have the same beliefs and values as they do because of that therapeutic relationship and that empathy and that support. It seems like we're always trying to determine if the other person is an us or a them. We're trying to draw lines, and it never helps. I've had several conversations with my family members about this too. And actually, just last night, I had a difficult conversation where I leaned into discomfort and confronted someone about something that was said about my values and beliefs, or even perceived that that's what was going on. Now, this wasn't even easy for me, and mental health is my profession. But I talked to them about some of the concepts that I'm going to share with you today, and about how our beliefs don't have to be the same to celebrate our differences. We can support one another and love each other fiercely in our differences. I'll be the first to admit that I did not understand this concept before, and I often didn't do it. I was too threatened by the values of others that seemed to conflict with my own values. And now I found that when I understand my own values and focus on congruently living them, then I don't need to feel threatened by others. I just need to be true to myself and let go of their side of the street, because really that is the only way we can find peace. I mentioned before that I'm watching Chosen, and Maybe you're Christian and you've seen that as well. But I just think about Jesus' personality in this. He just focused on love and living congruently, and he did not draw lines. He stayed true to his values. He lived authentically. And that is what softened hearts. I've seen that again and again in my life and in the lives of my clients. And that is what we can focus on. Now, why is it important to understand values? Very simply, I'm going to give you 6 reasons why. Number 1, to understand what is most important to you. Without that understanding, it's really hard to have a compass to where you're going, what you want, what you believe in firmly. You need to understand who you are and what you believe in. And I'll talk more about this in a minute too, but I'm going to go over these kind of briefly. Number 2, to protect and defend what is most important to you. So this is like setting up boundaries. For example, maybe you really value families, and so you want to protect and defend your time with your family. You're not going to let other things trump that. Like, you're not going to work an 80-hour week because that would be living inauthentically. That would not be living congruently to what you value the most. Number 3, to be more empathetic and respectful towards others' values. So once we know our own and understand why they're important to us, I find that my clients often naturally become more empathetic and respectful towards others. And they don't need to fight about those things as much, but they can respect them. Number 4, this kind of goes along with number 2, but to assertively and unapologetically stand up for your values and others' values. I want you to imagine those people right now that might have values that are very different than yours, and what it would look like to stand up for your values and theirs, even if they're different. And how that can still work without betraying yourself. For example, like maybe you have a family member that really values financial stability, and it can seem very confusing to you because that trumps their value of family. So you want to be angry and frustrated with them, but it likely comes from a place that makes sense. Like maybe they didn't feel very safe growing up. Maybe they experienced some poverty. And the way that they show their love is by creating that safety for their family members. Even if it means that they don't get to spend as much time with their family, they feel like that is the best way to show them their love. So that's just one example. Number 5. It's important to know and understand your values so that you can teach others to stand up for their own values with confidence. If we're not living congruently with our values, what are we teaching our loved ones or our children, whoever that might be? And how are they going to be able to stand up for their values with confidence unless we model that for them? Number 6, it's important to know and understand your values so that you can live more congruently with your values and have greater peace, joy, and fulfillment. So just as a reminder, congruence is agreement or harmony or compatibility. So living your life harmoniously with your values or in agreement with your values. I just want to share a few quick quotes here that I feel tie up some of these things nicely that I'm saying. John C. Maxwell said, "Core values are the deeply held beliefs that authentically describe your soul." So my friends, what authentically describes your soul? Take the time to print off that worksheet that I created. Take the time to explore what your values might be. If you don't stick to your values when they're being tested, then they're not values. They're hobbies. And that was by Jon Stewart. I thought that was a great quote as well. Are we just living hobbies or are we living our values? I was talking to my exchange student and she was sharing the things that she would do for money. She said if the price was high enough, she'd do almost anything. And I thought, I think most of us would have that response. And yet, if it's something that we really value, are we going to let it go so easily? Just something to think about. The next quote says, "We should not allow our personal values to erode, even if others think we're peculiar." That's by James E. Faust. Are we letting our personal values erode because of what other people think of us? I know that I did that a lot, even if it was just perceived, like how I thought some of my siblings might think of me. I muted my beliefs and my values so as to not offend. But the only thing that happened is that incongruence that it created in me, in turn created some depression and anxiety. And I think often when clients come in with that, it's because of that. They're not living congruently with their values for one reason or another. And as you resolve that, it naturally resolves anxiety and depression and overwhelm and many other things. The next quote says, "Don't compromise on your values to please others. Keep your self-respect intact and walk away." And that's by Unknown. And then Stephen Covey says, "Personal leadership is the process of keeping your vision and values before you and aligning your life to be congruent with them." I love that word, aligning. Are we aligning our life to be congruent with our values? I would love to hear what some of your top values are and what you've discovered, so feel free to post that on social media. Roy E. Disney said, "It's not hard to make decisions when you know what your values are." I wish I could get some feedback from you here, like some examples of when you learned your values and how that made so many decisions much easier. Going back to that family example, like if we know that family is our biggest value, then it makes our decisions really easy. Am I going to work extra hours today or not? Am I going to focus on friends today or not? Am I going to get distracted by this task or not? You know what I'm saying? And that could go with any value. Brene Brown said this about integrity, which is very connected to values and beliefs. She said, "Integrity is choosing courage over comfort, choosing what is right over what is fun, fast, or easy, and choosing to practice our values rather than simply professing them." So are we just professing our values? Or are we choosing courage over comfort? Are we choosing to live congruently and authentically? Are we protecting our values? Are we creating boundaries around them? I hope that you enjoyed today's episode on values and that you can walk away with a better understanding of how to live in harmony with those beliefs and values, to live congruently and authentically with who you are and do so unapologetically. And just quickly, those last 6 things so that you can understand why it's important. It's important to understand values so that you can understand what is the most important thing in your life, and so that you can protect and defend those things and set up boundaries, and that you can be more empathetic and respectful towards others' values and beliefs, and so that you can live assertively and apologetically for your values and for others, and that you can teach others how to stand up for their own values with confidence. And finally, again, so that you can live more congruently and have greater peace, joy, and fulfillment as you do so. As always, I pray that you will be able to have more fulfillment and more joy in your life as you explore your own values and as you identify what your core values are so that you can live that authentic, beautiful life. And just a final reminder that I'm launching Igniting Life for Individuals on August 21st. I promise you that you will not regret being in this first launch. This is when you're going to get the most value. Now, I've used this with my other clients and I've done this one-on-one, but this is the first time that it will be offered to a bigger group with small group accountability that is so key and very priceless. So you're not going to want to miss it. Again, this is for those that need structure and accountability and professional resources that you can trust towards improving your mental health, wellness, and spirituality. You'll be getting more than 10 times what you pay, so don't hesitate to sign up for a limited spot now. Structured, accountable self-development will give you shocking compound benefits. I guarantee it. Sign up at fulfillmenttherapy.org or email me at fulfillment.therapist@gmail.com. And please share your success stories on social media with us at Fulfillment Therapy on both Facebook and Instagram. You guys have an incredible week and enjoy discovering your core values with that resource that I offer online on my website. You guys take care, and I'll see you back here soon. If this podcast has helped you gain the insights and skills needed to propel you towards transformation and joy, the number one way to help me is to leave a written review on Apple Podcast. Like you, I'm striving to become my higher self by helping others thrive, and I do that most effectively if you use your influence and give a review. Share this episode with a friend or share it on social media and let others know how it has helped you. I would be so very grateful and excited that we're creating positive ripples in so many lives. If you want to connect, you can find me on Fulfillment Therapy on Facebook and Instagram, or go to fulfillmenttherapy.org. Thanks for listening, and shine boldly and brightly, my friend.